Okay, good night, good evening, Mingalaba.
Good evening, Professor. Yes.
Okay, shall we start?
Yes.
Okay, let's continue where we leave off last night.
Yes.
Okay, okay, can you see my presentation?
Yeah.
Okay,
Please check
so
my
this is a summary.
summary of the yesterday lecture.
Yes, summary of yesterday's lecture.
Please.
I talked about alignment the last several days. This is the summary of the current concept. The most important, what we should know, or mechanical alignment. That means the femoral head center and the knee center and the ankle center come into the same line. That is fantasy. The previous report showed only the 5% people fall into this area. So in addition, this is the data from the Caucasian. For Asian patients, this percentage should be less than 5%. Very, very small number of patients come to this perfect alignment. So we always consider about constitutional varus. So constitutional varus is very, very common, especially in the Asian population. So in this situation, conflict between alignment and gap are mandatory. So that means this picture shows this is a cutting line, so perpendicular to the femoral axis, and this line is perpendicular to the tibial axis. So these lines are not parallel to each other. So this is the main problem. So how to resolve it? Well, it is a very difficult question. But we have three ways to resolve it. The first is release and adjust the parallel. So seeing this picture, if we release this ligament, MCL, then medial side can open and the cutting line should be parallel, counter-parallel after the release and adjustment. But this is one way. Okay. Yes, welcome. Okay. Another one is mechanical cut and accept trapezoidal gap. So to accept the medial tight gap in both extension and flexion. And third, the cut parallel to joint line. In this policy, we ignore the total alignment of the lower leg. So we can accept the varus alignment after TKA. But there are three ways. The first one is release and adjust the parallel. After the cut of the perpendicular to the tibial and the femoral axis, the cutting space should be trapezoid. So after that, release the MCL from the tibial side and adjust the alignment and make the parallel gap. And this policy is mainly used for PS because PS the gap is very important. So otherwise, some impingement of the post and femoral component, and that can cause mechanical failure and even cause the dislocation. So, but after the release, the balance can be unnatural. So unnatural tension and kinematics. This is a problem. The second one is the accept trapezoid gap. So cut the perpendicular to the mechanical axis. We call it a measured cut. So we only see the bone landmarks and alignment. But gap is secondary. Of course, sometimes we release the MCL or some capsule to adjust the extreme imbalance. To medial side is too tight, we make a minor release. But this purpose is to reduce the imbalance, but not to the perfect. So, but it is rarely safe. Nobody knows because sometimes lateral side looseness can cause loosening or polyethylene wear. In this situation, medial side tend to be tight in the gap. So mechanical stress concentrate to the medial side, especially for the medial posterior side. The wear of polyethylene at this area can be easily occur. So this is have some disadvantage. But most CRG to use this policy and accept minor unbalance gap. Medial side tightness we always accept if it is very minor. The third one is new concept, cut the parallel to the joint line and ignore the total alignment. So this purpose is the reconstruct the native joint surface in both extension and flexion. So on this cutting policy, this cut is parallel in both extension and flexion, and medial and lateral posterior condyle will be the same thickness. So normally we always cut the parallel to the SEA, surgical transepicondylar axis. That line, following that line, the thickness of bone, the posterior condyle, should be thicker in the medial side. But to avoid this, so we call it kinematically aligned TKA. This cutting policy, we are focused on the balance of the soft tissue. This concept is quite similar to the UK. In the most UK procedure, we ignore the total alignment. So we should accept medial tire no constitutional varus alignment. If we adjust this constitutional varus alignment in the UK operation, we should release the MCL. But unfortunately, the UK operation, the tension and the length of the MCL is a standard. This is a primary. Everything decided by the MCL. So if once we release the MCL, everything is destroyed. So this is the same in the kinematical alignment TKA. So we never release the MCL, the others of the tissues a lot. Of course, sometimes we detach a very, very small amount of release. So another problem in the mechanical axis TKA is the joint line. In the short X-ray, where the tibial axis is parallel to the prim. In this situation, the perpendicular cut on the tibia is very natural, looks natural, very, very balanced, and it looks very stable. But this tibial axis is not perpendicular to the floor, not vertical, because in the standing phase, the hip center to center distance is wider than the heel-to-hip distance in the foot. So eventually, this total leg alignment should incline laterally approximately 3 degrees to the lateral side. So the tibial axis is virtually parallel to the total leg axis. So the tibial axis will incline laterally an average of 3 degrees. So in the standing position, if we cut perpendicular to the tibial axis, the joint line counts like lateral varus alignment. So this one study showed that in the double leg standing phase, the varus alignment, varus angle is an average of 3.2 degrees. And in the single leg standing phase, so in this situation, is hip joint counts more lateral to balance to stand to the body weight on the one leg. So in this situation, so lateral inclination counts more steep, 1 degree more to the lateral slant. So it can cause an unbalance of loadings that can cause some instability or polyethylene wear. But to avoid this, one solution is this one, anatomical alignment. This is a very, very classical one. This alignment is reported by Hungerford and Krakow in 1985, approximately 40 years ago. So this should be the parallel to the joint line. So this concept is quite similar to the mechanical alignment, modern mechanical kinematical alignment TKA. But in this alignment, the cutting angle is decided 3 degrees in beta in the tibial side, and in the femur side, in 3 degrees varus, it is fixed. So eventually, the posterior condylar is cut parallel to the PCA, posterior condylar axis. In the most mechanical aligned TKA, the cutting thickness of posterior condyle is thicker in the medial side than lateral side. So, but in this area, in this year, 1985, we did not have navigation or robotic surgery. So it was quite difficult to cut tibia in 3 degrees in beta constantly without a dryer. Because if we cut in 3 degrees in beta, some outlier will exist. For example, some patients have more than 5 degrees. It's quite risky, and the patient has the risk of loosening. So this is abundant, and forgotten, but refined as kinematical alignment need. So because now we can cut the desired angle in both varus and varus using some devices such as navigation or PSI. So it is refined in the current. So many surgeons are focused on this classical anatomical alignment and modern kinematical alignment. So why in the anatomical alignment we can cut the posterior condyle are the same thickness in the medial and lateral side? Its answer is this one. So in the normal mechanical alignment knee, the cutting line is this one, this dot line with the perpendicular to the axis. But in the anatomical alignment, it is focused on this lateral joint line. It should incline around 3 degrees. So this cutting line is also 3 degrees against the tibial and femur mechanical axis. So this is a coronal alignment. But the difficulty is the rotational alignment, the alignment in flexion angle, flexion knee flexed situation. So it is quite easy to understand. So dot line is again mechanical line knee. It's cut perpendicular to the tibia. But if we cut like this, the thickness of medial side is thinner, and thickness of lateral side is thicker. So in contrast with the femur side, so compensate to the thinner medial side thickness, the medial side of the femur should be thicker compared to the lateral side. That faces to the lateral side, that is the thicker than the medial side. So, but it is quite difficult to identify how to cut this line. So, because in the coronal view, so this line is quite easy to identify because this is aiming to femoral head center. It's quite easy. But this is another problem, that how to identify the femoral head intraoperatively. It is not easy. In some solution, there is some solution. One way is one way is use the image intensifier or to measure the angle difference between the mechanical and anatomical axis using the long X-ray or CT scan, or use navigation, or use robot or PSI. But apart from this difficulty, but the cutting plane, how to decide the cutting plane is very simple, straightforward. But in the flexion, it's quite difficult. So because nobody knows the true AP axis of the femur, so we can only identify the PCA, posterior condyle axis. But the manual surgeon believes that to SEA like this one, from the lateral epicondyle and the medial side of the sulcus, just posterior to the eminence of the medial epicondyle. So connecting these points, it should be the SEA, trans-epicondyle surgical trans-epicondyle axis. But many surgeons believe that that is parallel to the dot line, mechanical line in the flexion. So, but in the anatomical alignment, it's quite simple to identify this cutting line. It's just 3 degrees because this joint line inclination, in other words, APA, medial proximal tibial angle, should be around 3 degrees in average. So in this situation, only the cut parallel that will be the 3 degrees in varus. So similarly, this is parallel to the joint line to cut only the same thickness and posterior condyle. It's quite simple. So I think this is more reasonable than mechanical line knee. But problem is, it's quite easy to cut the posterior condyle to the femoral side in the flexion. However, to decide the 3 degrees, to cut the 3 degrees against the axis is quite difficult because using our eyes, only the parallel or perpendicular can be accurately identified. The slight difference between the inclination, that we can't identify the difference between the 3 degrees and the 5 degrees, even in the operation. So to reduce the outlier, to cut the perpendicular or parallel is a very, very reproducible and easy and straightforward. So in this means to cut the posterior condyle and posterior tibia parallel to the joint line is very, very reasonable. So, but again, the problem is how to cut the 3 degrees in varus. It's a very difficult problem. In addition, so this angle is different among the patients. Some patients is virtually 0, and some patients has more than 10 degrees in the joint line inclination. So, but such variation is concentrated in the one angle, just 3 angles. So this is a kind of a mechanical alignment. And because mechanical alignment, the patient anatomy and variation is ignored. So joint line inclination is completely ignored. We only see the mechanical axis. So in this mechanical alignment, of course, cutting line is near, close to the original joint line, but not completely parallel to the joint line. Some error. Some patient, this cutting line is relatively valgus, and in other patients is relatively varus. Anyway, this is quite interesting cutting policy. But even now, some surgeons select this one because sometimes in the mechanical kinematical line knee, we need to cut more than 3 degrees, sometimes more than 5 degrees in the medial inclination, because we are very, very worried about such medial sloped bone cut and the implantation. In the most papers show that more than 3 degrees inclination of the varus inclination can cause early failure. Okay, this is a surgical transepicondylar axis. So this is one way to how to know this dot line. To what is the perpendicular to the femoral AP axis. So many surgeons believe that this line, AP line, is the perpendicular to the AP line is transepicondylar axis, this one. And another surgeon insists that this line should be the anterior posterior axis. In another name is white side line. That is considered to be the parallel to the AP axis. But problem is, so everything especially in the flexion gap, flexion bone cut, it depends on this line. But to consider this line as the standard of the rotation axis is some problem, because in fact we want to cut the posterior condyle and distal femur are the same thickness as the component thickness. But if we use SEA, sometimes cutting error can occur. I'm sorry, I will leave now.
Cannot try to hide it.
Okay,
Into a pair. Come into it.
into hello.
Hello?
ဟုတ်သားဆရာဟုတ်သားကျွန်တော် UN1 ပါ PG2 ပါဟုတ်
Oh, video means oh, hello, what's that?
What's the other more than the young?
Name of that, you are one day on the say. Okay, what
ဒေါက်တာပြန်တက်နေပြီလေဆရာ
Oh, Dr. Pian.
ဟုတ်ဆရာ
Hey, Nico,
Hey, come on.
okay, what do you say? Who probably would dinner do a bit on me like was say.
Hey,
Tap on him.
you cannot try around.
Oh,
So the situation in the end of shipping is
okay, don't balance you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I went to the toilet. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wait to the toilet. Okay, I'm sorry. So if you decide on the cutting angle, referring to the SEA, sometimes cutting error, especially to the posterior condyle cut, can occur. That is the problem. Okay, this is the end of my talk today. Do you have any questions?
Yes, Professor. During my stay in your hospital, use the cutting guide with varus. I remember.
Yes, cutting guide, yes. So then the cutting policy, the cutting way is not decided,
Yes.
not finalized. Each cutting policy have the each problem. So
Yes, Professor.
we're seeking the best way to, what is the best way? Of course, the difference is very small, maybe. For the patient, I cannot understand the difference between this cutting policy, mechanical axis and the anatomical axis.
Yeah.
But anyway, to consider deeply to how to cut, to how to reconstruct the patient natural knee is very important. Okay. Anyway, I will continue to the kinematic alignment knee tomorrow.
Yes, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you. See you. very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. See you
Good night,
tomorrow.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Good night.